Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with Naked Mabel to tell you about our May reads. Get that neck so naked. It's so she doesn't jingle all the time. All right, I read a lot in May. I haven't counted yet. 3, 6, 9, 12. Whoa. I read 20 books. All right, which to be fair, some of them were like novellas, so that's why. 21 if you count the book that I didn't realize I'd already read. So May was tulip time, so I thought I was going to read a lot in that week. I did not. And then I was like, whatever, it's just a wash. But then I had such a good time reading the rest of May that I like made up for it. So got lots of books to get through. It is May 31st. So this is like probably one of the earliest times that I've like finished my book wrap up. But I finished this book today. New release from Catherine Center. I just started a 20-hour audiobook, so I know that I'm not finishing anything else tonight, and I just wanted to start fresh. I might read a chapter or two of my first June book because I opened that today, but more to come on June and what's happening. It involves my sister. I do not know what books. It's so exciting. Okay, audiobooks. Also, I've tried to film this like 4 times, and I just keep running into roadblocks. This is such a fun day. Okay. Anywho, the first audiobook that I read this month was Lost in the Moment and Found. This is, it's not. I lied to you. I almost missed the whole book. This Book Will Bury Me. This is Ashley Winstead. So she also wrote In My Hands I Hold a Knife, which was a very good book. I really enjoyed it. This book I gave 3.5 stars. The actual like mystery itself was fine. The character was a little, like the premise was weird. So our character's dad dies because he just like doesn't go to the doctor. For some reason in her grief, she decides that she needs to create a legacy for him by becoming like solving murders. It has nothing to do with him. Like he wasn't murdered. That's not what he did. Like he was like a Trekkie, like, so I don't know why she didn't just like become a Trekkie. Like it very strange. So she ends up like on like Reddit and gets into like this murder group that they like try to solve this murder. Well, they end up doing it. She gets infamous. But then there's a big twist that you can really see coming like pretty hard. So like it wasn't a bad book, but this is not something I would recommend to anyone. So 3.5 stars. And Lost in the Moment and Found is an Every Heart a Doorway novella. So this is like the 7th or 8th book. This is Ansie's story. She's in like the library of lost things, and so she has to find out like bartering and time and how time passes. This series are novellas that are like, it's like if children came back from Narnia and then had a hard time like acclimating to the world. So they go to a school where the headmistress has also gone through a doorway. So they're just like waiting for their doors to show up again. And they're with kids that like understand them. So that was actually, I liked that one better than a lot of like 5, 6, 7, like the last few that have happened. And it just like a 4-hour novella. So when you listen to it on 2-speed, it takes 2 hours. So it's just like while I'm doing chores. So that was great. I gave that one 4 stars. And then I listened to, this has been on my TBR for a really long time, but I do not like cozy mysteries. Like I do not. So I like The Maid. And like Finley Donovan is the dumbest character. Like she's entertaining, don't get me wrong. I will probably keep listening to that series, but she is so incompetent and it drives me crazy because I do not like incompetent main characters. Like it's not a draw for me. So I listened to Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. Vera Wong claims she owns the world's best tea shop. She has like one customer. But one morning as she's doing her daily routine, she finds a dead man in her tea shop. So she, in a very Amelia Bedelia move, like outlines the body in chalk because she's pretty sure that's what the cops are going to do. And then they show up and they're like, what the heck did you do? Really so. And she is on their case the entire murder investigation. They don't think it's a murder. They think it's just like an overdose. So she's like, no, he's for sure murdered. So she's investigating it by herself. And she is the opposite of Finley Donovan. She's too overqualified. And trying to get in everybody's lives and manage everybody's lives. So she does end up solving the murder. But she also, like, why are you crying? She also creates, like, a found family that is honestly very delightful. So, I will probably be continuing in the series. I think there's just a second book. I don't know that there's more. But it was a delight. So I gave that one 4 stars. Liked it. Then I frustratingly listened to Serpent and Dove in 2 parts because when I was like an hour to the end, it returned. And then I had to wait for it again. Well, not wait for it. I had to wait until there was a night that I could stay up until midnight to download it from Hoopla because Hoopla has their stupid, like, too many people have downloaded things today. So if everybody else could stop using Hoopla, this never used to be an issue. And I just can't stay up till midnight to get books, guys. The one night I couldn't stay up until midnight, like I fell asleep at like 11, but I woke up at 5 and was like, oh, surely I can definitely get some books. They were gone. They were gone for the day. 5 a.m. Crazy readers. Anywho, Serpent and Dove. Okay, so our main character is a witch in a time that it's illegal to be a witch. So she's like undercover. And she's trying to steal like a relic because something's happening with the witches. She wants to not be with them. So she's like hiding from the witches and from the, what are they called? Chasseurs, the witch hunters. She ends up in a very compromising position with a man. Turns out he's a chasseur, and either she's going to be like put down for being a loose woman, or he has to marry her. So he marries her. They fall in love. He doesn't know she's a witch. Chaos ensues. Mabel's like crying and like breathing so loud. I'm so confused. So if you hear strange noises, that's her. So I don't feel like I can give away the rest of the story. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I don't like regret reading it, but it wasn't amazing. But I am interested in like what they revealed, so I will probably listen to the next one, which is Blood and Honey. Yeah, and it being returned partway through really just killed the vibe, you know? Yeah. But I don't feel like 3.5 I don't feel like that's a bad rating. It's just not an amazing rating. Like, I'm not recommending it to everyone. I've been looking forward to Witchcraft for Wayward Girls because I love Grady Hendrix, which some are great, some are awful. That's how I feel about Grady Hendrix. So, My Best Friend's Exorcism, that one is ridiculously good. The Southern Woman's Guide to Killing Vampires, also good. They are like horror, but they're not like super scary. They're just like gory and creepy, like irreverent. Our main character, Fern, gets knocked up in the 1970s and her parents send her to a woman's home in Florida. So while they're there, all these people are telling them that they're going to get to keep their babies. And of course, they're not going to get to keep their babies, right? Like, that's the whole point of the home. So one of the girls is in an awful home situation. So they are trying to get her out of that. They're also trying to, like, keep custody of their babies. And along comes a librarian who gives them a book about witchcraft. And they start doing witchcraft on the people that are basically holding them in prison. And actual chaos ensues, and the the witch is not like a great character either. Like, she is the horror story, but also so is what they did to pregnant teens in the 1970s. Like, let's not give them birth control. Let's not give them sex ed so they know what's happening and then take their babies from them. So awful. So this was a slight disappointment to me because it felt like it took a really long time for it to build up. Like, I could have guessed everything that was going to happen with these pregnant women and like the social workers and all of that. So it just felt like it took a long time to build up, and I feel like they did have to build up that plot, but by the time we got to the action, it was like three quarters to the end, and then it was like, oh, it's done. So it was good. Not his best. So I'm giving it a 4. Then I listened to Neverworld Wake, which I feel like Alexandra Roslin, a YouTuber that I've been following for a while, I feel like this was on her TBR like 5 years ago, like 5+. And so it's been on my TBR for forever. So I'm trying to like read some of my older books, and I just don't feel like I've heard anything of it lately, but it was really good. So our main character is B. Her boyfriend died a year ago in a car accident, and her and her 5 friends, 5 of them that are remaining, get into a car accident, and they end up in this like dream world where they have to vote on one of them to survive. Like, they're like in this like limbo, and 4 of them are gonna die, and they have to like vote at the end of every wake. But they're also trying to like solve her boyfriend's murder, because that's how they're all tied together. And so at first it was a little Groundhoggy Day, which was like hard, and then it gets more and more exciting. You get all these pieces put together. And yeah, it was very good. And then we of course find out what's actually happening in the real world, and like, is it real? Is it not? But I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah, 4.5. It took a little bit to like build up, mostly because I had no idea what it was about, but it ended up being an absolute delight. So, and I think it's YA. I'm pretty sure. Then I listened to The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, and I had no idea what it was going to be about. I kind of assumed it was about a marriage. It's not. It's about heaven and hell. It's an allegory for heaven and hell. What a strange name. So, our main character like gets on a bus, and he goes to like heaven and hell. Like, they're like the same. It's really interesting. It was like a 4-hour like novella. I thought it was honestly better than I thought it was going to be, because it's an allegory. So like, nothing is exactly what it is. Like, he's not just like saying things. He's like presenting a word picture to you basically. So there was a lot on like people who are so busy trying to spread Christianity that they forget about Christ. And so like, sure enough, like there's a man he meets that he's like, hey, like, come with us, like, come, like, let's go, like, higher up and higher in, let's go, like, meet, like, Christ. And he's like, no, I'm really busy, I have to go, like, spread the word. And it's like, you are totally missing everything. Like, the actual point is Jesus Christ, and you're just missing it. One of the quotes that I wrote down that I felt like was super interesting was, the bad man's past already conforms to his badness and is filled only with dreariness. And that is why the blessed will say, we have never lived anywhere except heaven, and the lost, we were always in hell, and both speak the truth. So it's like the idea that like your whole life will be reflected in like how you see the world. So like, if we end up in heaven and like you were looking for the good and you were in Christ the whole time, like your whole life will look like heaven, because it was always like pointed towards him and towards good. Super interesting, right? Like, different perspective, which is like, super interesting. I feel like heaven and hell is a scary topic, but also really interesting when it's presented differently than like the storybooks tell. And very much switching gears, I listened to The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. Honestly, this was just a delight. I do love Elle Kennedy, but I feel like my last one or two were like, meh, like they were good. They were hockey romances that have like good banter and like spicy scenes, but like this one for some reason just hit different. I liked it a lot. Trigger warnings for like domestic abuse. So Shane Lindley moves into an apartment next to Diana Dixon, who is a cheerleader. It's primarily from Diana's point of view, I would say. So she already hates him because he slept with a bunch of her cheerleading friends. So she like spreads it around the apartment that he's bad. And like, she doesn't think that she's making up stories about him, but she's just going off of his reputation. But nobody can resist him. So they're basically like fighting over like loyalty with their apartment complex. Their apartment complex has really fun characters and side characters. Diana has an evil ex-boyfriend. So there's a lot going on. They enter a dance competition. There's an ex-girlfriend that Shane's like trying to impress. There's some kinks in here. There's some spicy sex scenes. So there was a lot going on. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, which I feel like is really good for a hockey romance. And I think that's it for audiobooks. So what I did for May, hopefully you remember this, if you watched my vlog about my May reads, or my tulip time, I took a book that's been on my TBR for a really long time that I'm having a hard time like pulling off the shelf. And I paired it with a newer book or a book that I'm excited to read, and I like wrapped these up and numbered them. So for example, On Mystic Lake and the Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits. So On Mystic Lake is a back catalog of Kristen Hanna. So it's like a Hallmark movie. So I knew I was gonna like it, but it wasn't gonna be like earth shattering, and sure enough. So our main character's husband, says he wants a divorce as their daughter like leaves for a study abroad program. She is absolutely blindsided by it, even though he was an asshole. So she goes home back home to where her dad lives, where she grew up. Her 2 best friends, male and female, married each other. And since in the last few weeks, maybe a year ago, her female best friend, unalived herself. And so the dad now is like trying to pick up the pieces, raise the daughter, and they still have feelings for each other. So she helps out with the daughter. And then there's some twists and turns, and it has kind of an open-ended ending, which was very nice. I would give this 3.5 stars. It was delightful, but not like earth-shattering. And because I read that, I got to read the Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits. So this, I would say, a less great version of Daisy Jones and the Six. So we're trying to figure out what happened with the band, where Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid is the gold standard. It is the best. So amazing. And it's written in like interview form. And honestly, when you're reading it, you're like, is this a real band? Because it is presented that well. The Griffin Sisters, we start the book following one of the Griffin sisters and her daughter who's trying to get on like an American Idol show, and her mom won't like discuss her band or her past. There's also some weird family dynamics. The other sister is like in hiding in Alaska. So we have no idea what happened to the band or why. So it takes a second for it to get going, but then it is like, okay, what's happening? Why? I still don't understand why we're ending up like this. And then there's quite a few twists in the end, and you understand why these girls are estranged. And honestly, it's just sad how it all went wrong, and like a lot of misunderstandings, but also just like the way that they hurt each other was awful. Yeah, so this was enjoyable. I think I gave it 4 stars. Boop. Hello? Yes, 4 stars. This is a good one. This was a April 2025 book of the month, so very recent, very new. Once again, this was a pair. So Flowers in the Attic, I've never read this. I've heard that it's like controversial. I didn't know. What a wild time, right? And then Phantasma is a newer romantasy. There is a sequel out already. I've heard great things about this, and so I really wanted to read it, and now was the time. Flowers in the Attic. What can I say about this? Our main characters, their parents had an incestuous relationship, so it's their mom and her like half uncle got married, had kids, and they have 4 kids. Their parents, or the people that raised them, like kicked them out because you can't just like be married to each other. That's incestuous. And they were very wealthy. Well, so the dad dies in a car accident, and the mom is like, I got no skills, and I'm gonna go try to like live with my parents again. But her dad hates her and her children, and she's the only surviving child that they have. So their plan is for their children to hide in the attic. Her mom knows, to hide in the attic until she like wins her dad back and wins the inheritance from him. Well, guess what? The mom and the grandma are both evil. They stay in the attic for years, and only when they find something out do they like escape. There's like weird sexual tension in here because of the like brother and sister, and the grandma's like almost like looking for them to be incestuous. There is definitely trigger warnings. I feel like the thing that happened between the siblings, because it wasn't consensual, was very upsetting to me and just felt like it didn't need to happen. It would have made more sense to me if they actually just decided to do it because of their weird attraction and the fact that they're the only people that they know. So I took a star off for that. Otherwise, a well-written book. It really kind of keeps you reading. So 4 stars for that. And that was written like in the 70s. I cannot imagine how controversial that book was. And then Phantasma was so good. 5 stars. Like, honestly, so good. This is what you want a romantasy to be. If you've read Caraval, this is a spicy, better version. Like, Caraval was good. Like, 3.5 stars. It's a competition. So Phantasma, Ophelia lives in New Orleans. She like speaks to the dead, so she's like a necromancer. Her mom dies unexpectedly, so she receives her powers. Her sister joins this Phantasma competition that comes around every once in a while, like every few cycles. Her parents had some sort of a tie to this. They don't know their dad. And so Ophelia follows her sister into Phantasma and is trying to save her and get her out. But then they're also trying to like win because their mom had a lot of debts that they didn't know about, and they're trying to like keep their home and their manor. And the rule of Phantasma is to never fall in love because you get cursed. There's some spice in here. There's some romance. The actual like competition is really well written too. And it's very fast moving. So I read this in like 2 days. It was so good. So highly recommend. I have the second one on its way to me, so that will be a July read for me for sure. And they were both disappointing. I'm so sorry. So Now Is Not the Time to Panic. It's by Kevin Wilson. I loved I don't know if it's his first book, but I loved Nothing to See Here. Absolutely amazing. I talk about this more in the vlog about why I don't like it, but yeah, our main character does something ridiculous. The town goes into like a time of panic, and then current day, a reporter asked her about it. So it was short, but it took me a really long time to read because I just didn't love it. So I gave it 3 stars. I feel like it should probably be like a 2.5, honestly. And then Liquid I DNF'd. I got 1 chapter in and I hated the writing, and I went to look on Goodreads to see what the rating was, and it was 2.95. And honestly, that is low. That's so low. And then, all right, then these two must have gone together. So The Things We Do for Love by Kristen Hanna and The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. So The Things We Do for Love by Kristen Hanna, again, another like Hallmark-like movie. Our main character and her husband break up because they've had infertility issues for so long. And then she goes back to help her family's restaurant after her father dies. And we deal with a lot of family dynamics. There's also a young girl who starts working at the restaurant who her mom is a POS. And then she gets pregnant. And there's a whole, like, do we have the baby, adoption, all of that, which brings up a lot of, like, angst for our main character because she wants a baby so bad, but she's trying to support this girl. And I got 3/4 of the way through before realizing that I have read this already. I was like, this is so familiar. I think I read another Christina book that's really similar to this. It is this book. It's this book that I read. I enjoyed it so much the first time, and I didn't even realize. So I read it again. So then, like, 2/3 of the way through, or however far I got, I was like, well, I don't feel like I need to finish this. I know what happened. So I just went and, like, read the last, like, few chapters just to make sure that I knew, and I did. And I did not give that one a rating, like, in my book journal because it's not a new book. But yeah, I would give it, like, a 3.5. So Erin A. Craig from West Michigan, where I am. If this is a fairy tale retelling, I do not know the fairy tale, but I loved it. So our main character is a 13th child. So her family is poor. They cannot afford the 12 children they have already. But apparently 13th children have, like, mystical powers. So the gods come knocking when they find out that they're pregnant with a 13th child. And they're like, we'll buy her from you. So the god of death actually ends up buying her, and he goes by, like, Merrick to her. So she's thinking that he's gonna come take her right away, right? Well, he doesn't come and get her until she's, like, 8 or 9. And then he decides that she's going to be a healer, and she doesn't really know why. So, like, she becomes this healer, and then her power is that she can, like, touch people and see what their cure is. But if she doesn't, like, if she can't cure them, she sees, like, a death's head on them, and then she's supposed to help them along. And then we find out the consequences when she disagrees with that and when she tries to, like, do it her own way and save them. And wow, that has far-reaching consequences. This was so good. Like a speculative, like, slightly morbid, like a dark fantasy kind of. Oh, so good. I loved it a lot. So I gave this one 4.5 stars. Yay, Erin Craig. Love it. This was my December 2024 book of the month, and I've been wanting to read it. It's just, like, a little thicker, but the writing actually was so big that I cruised right through it. So yeah, definitely recommend that book, especially if you like fairy tale retellings. The last set of books that I opened was Lightlark. I've heard mixed reviews on this. My sister liked it, so I figured I probably would like it. And then The Lion Women of Tehran, which was, like, the runner-up for the book of the year for book of the month. So I got this, like, in January when they announced them. That was, like, my like, free bonus book of the year. So Lightlark, I really liked it. Like, if this book was spicier, it would have been 5 stars. I really liked it. There was a lot of world building, but I liked how it ended up. I liked the magic. I thought the competition, it wasn't like a competition. So it's like very complicated and hard to explain. I will try. So I think there's 6. Yes, there's 6 realms that used to be united, but they were cursed like 500 years earlier. So every 100 years, the centennial, they come together and they have, like, a competition, and they're trying to fulfill this, like, prophecy and break the curse. But they just, like, don't have a good idea of, like, what started it, because it has to, like, they have to, like, recreate it, but they don't really know what happened. And they all have different allegiances. And so our main character is actually coming into this as a wildling, is, like, her power. So, like, nature. But she was actually born without power. So she's got to, like, keep that covered. She's got an alliance with another kingdom. She's, like, falling in love with people left and right. yeah, I liked the world. I liked the magic. I liked the twist was great. I can't say that I didn't see it coming, but that isn't the direction I thought we were going to go. It was good. I liked it. And so I will be reading Night's Bane, definitely. I liked this a lot. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars. I mean, I guess I could see why people don't like it, but I think it was a delight. I do. I love, like, high stakes, things like that. I don't know. Especially, like, on the heels of Phantasma, it still held up pretty well. Lion Women of Tehran, not so much. I'm so sorry. I think that this is an interesting story, and I was not invested in it at all. So our main characters, Ellie and Homa, grow up in Iran in the 1970s when the Shah is in power, and they are just like hoping against all hopes for a revolution. And when the revolution comes, it comes with evil religious men who take away women's rights. I think, honestly, this is my greatest fear. So it felt a little close to home right now. So I didn't love that. Maybe that's why I couldn't connect with it, because I just did not want to. So we follow these women growing up. Homa is definitely like a rebel. Like, she's always fighting. And Ellie is just honestly like trying to get by. So Ellie ends up in America. Homa ends up in prison, and she ends up having a child, and then she sends her child to Ellie to raise in America. And yeah, there's what's supposed to be a twist. I don't feel like it was that twisty. And for not being that long, it like took me a while to get through. I understand why people liked it. I do. It just wasn't for me. So I'm sorry. I think I gave it 4 stars, but I feel like it should really be 3.5 just based on my own personal experience with it. So if you loved it, great. I love that for you. I just didn't love it. The other books I read for book clubs, Everything is Tuberculosis. I read this for the Sharon Says So book club. And I'm very excited because I think in the middle of June, we meet with John Green over Zoom, and we get to hear like his thoughts. So I am super interested in infectious diseases. That's just like been a weird passion of mine since my microbiology class in college. Perhaps because my professor was the best, and perhaps just because I find it intriguing. Especially tuberculosis, that I did not realize is still so prevalent. And so John Green does like a lot of an overview of tuberculosis, but he also weaves it through with Mabel, stop it. So he weaves the other tuberculosis information through with the story of an actual real life person from the 2020s. And so that just like makes the stakes feel higher. And the point of this book is advocacy for the people that are still dying of tuberculosis. And it feels very timely because of what's happening with vaccines and medicine right now in America. So we should expect for tuberculosis to be making a comeback. Not something that you want to come back of. So I gave that book 4.5 stars. Enjoyable. I read I've Got Questions by Erin Hicks Moon. She's on a podcast that I love, the podcast. This is about deconstructing your faith, especially if you were raised in the church. I think she was raised Baptist, like Southern Baptist. And so it's not like a memoir, but it's kind of like a how-to. Like how to see if your faith is really following Jesus. The book itself is so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, and did I mention that I got it signed? Thanks to my friends that keep bringing me to these author meetups, because guess what? I would never do it alone. because I don't really like to meet famous people, even if they're just local celebrities. It just makes me too nervous. We also read Wild Dark Shore for book club, and this is a book that is not long. It is like 300 pages. And when we discussed this, it was like, wow, so much happens in this book. So to very shortly sum this up, I think she's the main character, Rowan. Her husband sends her like very distressing emails, and so she tries to go to the island that he's researching on to see what's going on. Well, what she finds is a family of 4 and no one else. So the dad and his 3 children, and they range in age from like 19 to 7. So they are basically on this island, abandoned, alone, and because the like sea levels are rising and things are heating up, they're like near Antarctica, I believe. Like between like Australia and Antarctica. Because the sea levels are rising and they need to get out of there, they also need to like pack up the seed bank that's on the island. And Rowan is trying to figure out what happened to all these researchers. Clearly this family's keeping secrets, and they're keeping lots of secrets. Not all to do with the researchers. We do like unpack what has happened to them. And then there's a lot of commentary on global warming and taking care of our planet. This was kind of a wild time. I gave it 4.5 stars. It did take like I feel like it was like half of the book for us to get any answers, because I got a little bit frustrated with how much it was like, we have secrets, we all have secrets, we have so many secrets, and it was like, no one's told me a single secret, so I'm losing interest. So, and then they start to unpack them all, and that's interesting. It's very fast paced at the end, a lot happens, and then an interesting ending that was a very good like book club thing to discuss. So definitely, like, if you're in a book club, I would recommend this book. This is a good book club book. Before I started reading any of those, I read Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver. This is a continuation of, what's the first one? It's like Raven and something. Anyway, murderers. They're murderers. So this is the 3rd brother. I don't know the chances of all 3 brothers being murderers, but in this series they are. But they also have a lot of sex. Honestly, I think this is the worst one because our main character was bad at killing. So that was annoying. And like, yeah, I just didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I've heard that Lights Out is good, but it feels... So like that's a different series, I think, about murderers. I just don't know. I'll have to see. The Love Haters. I finished this like an hour ago, so it is fresh. Look how pretty these sprayed edges are. Like, I don't really care about sprayed edges because I have my books spine out, as you can see. But I do appreciate the teal edges. They're beautiful. And I like that they're like so perfectly matched the book. I actually never looked. Oh yeah. I mean, that green is also pretty, and the inside is palm trees. It's such a pretty book. I don't think it's a special edition or anything. I think it's just what I pre-ordered. I do love Catherine Center. She's an automatic read for me. I don't always buy them, but automatic read. I would give this 4 stars. It was not as good as The Bodyguard or Hello Stranger. Things You Save in a Fire. Oh my God, that one's so good. But I still enjoyed it. Definitely our main character has body image issues, which who doesn't? So that is a main theme. Our main character's name is Katie. Her ex-boyfriend is a famous pop star, and so she's dealing with that. And that's kind of what made her body image take a tank. And now she's like learning to love herself again. Well, she's a videographer. So her boss is laying people off, and they're like, if you go and do this assignment and you do a promotional campaign for the Coast Guard, then you'll probably keep your job. So she's like, yeah, I can do it, even though she can't swim. It's like, that's the premise. And then there's a lot of other like relationships and histories. And so our main guy, Hutch, it's Tom Hutchison, he goes by Hutch, is a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. So I feel like lately Catherine Zenner has just been like, let's just draw a super fun job out of a hat and see what happens. And that's how she writes her romance books. It was fun. That was me. That was a lot of books. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. So, I don't know. My sister chose my June books, and I think right now I have like 13. So, see if I can get through all of them. If I read another 20 books in June, wowza. And then I'll have to see if I do like a wrap up, because like a 6-month, like how much I've read and all that. That's a lot. It's a lot of stats to go through if I'm going to do a video like that. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. Otherwise, see you for the June vlog and June wrap up.